Okay, good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good. Good morning. Let's see, Tuesday, October 28th. You know, it's funny. I'm Pete Erickson. I'm the founder of Modev, and I'm the creator of the Agentic conference. And you know, it's so wild to be here because we plan these conferences for about a year, and so all year, you know, this date's coming, and then when it finally gets here, it's like you're in the middle of it, and it fills me with joy just to meet everybody, to see so many faces that I know, and to meet so many new people. And coming in this morning, I had a chance to meet a group of folks that came all the way from Florida, and many of them are seniors in high school, just getting ready to graduate from George S. Middleton High School in Tampa, Florida. Let's give it up for George S. Middleton High School team right here. They made the trip. They made the trip up here. And you know, so many of us, we go to a lot of conferences, we put on conferences, we're used to that as part of our professional careers, but when you're just getting started, going to a conference is a pretty big deal. You start to put the pieces together about how business works, how relationships work, how the exchange works, how technology is built, you know, through the breakouts. So hats off to that team. I don't think I went to my first conference till I was, you know, well out of college, but hats off, kids, and have a great experience, and we're here to support you in your future, which is very bright. I can already tell that. Yesterday was wonderful. It was good to see. We focused on our public sector yesterday at GovAI, and it was wonderful to see so many people show up and so many federal public servants show up in the middle of a shutdown. You know, that's also been a really interesting part of this experience. Is the government's in a shutdown and we're hosting a public sector event, but so many, it's just so indicative of the public sector, and it's a public service, and so many are here and probably in this room right now that are keeping things moving despite great challenges and maybe not even giving in paychecks. So let's give it up for the public sector servants that are a part of this event. I'm humbled and honored that they would be here. So just a little bit about this event. So Agentic is an evolution. We started Voice Summit we launched it in 2017. We held our first event in 2018. And it was really one of the first conferences to go really deep on this new intersection between the human voice and artificial intelligence. And a lot of people in this room were at that very first event back in 2018 up in Newark, New Jersey. Leading up to that event, I was meeting people to get interest in the event, and I met this gentleman who was in town from London in New York. We met at a cafe and had breakfast. At the time, he was the head of digital innovation for Lego, and I felt so lucky that you know, to meet him for breakfast and talk about what was happening. It's an iconic brand around artificial intelligence and voice technology, and it's a conversation I will never forget. And the one big thing I won't forget is I said, hey, would you be willing to come back to the US in July and give a keynote? And he said yes, on the spot, absolutely. And that was just like when you're a conference organizer and you land somebody like a Lego, and that started a fast friendship. And he was one of our first keynote speakers back then, and I am so delighted that he's back again with us in this room, and this time he brought his lovely wife and their two kids sitting there in the back. Holly, can you stand up and give us a wave? And girls, can you please stand up? So anyway, delightful to have you all here. Thank you so much for making the trip, a big trip to America, and I think they went to Times Square and did a bunch of other stuff, so that's awesome. All right, so without further ado, we're going to kick off today, and this, you know, you have to have a lot of context on where we are with AI, and this guy has so much context. He has gone deep into AI from many different angles. He stepped out of Lego and started one of the first voice AI agencies in the UK. He successfully exited that agency, and now he's working on his next big idea. But let's bring up James J.P. Poulter to kick this event off. Thank you so much, James, for being here. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for saying yes on that first keynote. And thanks for getting us going. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. And should we just give a huge round of applause to Pete, who brings this energy every year and brings this thing back. It's hugely appreciated. Makes a massive difference to all of us. Thank you very much. Well, good morning. It's good to be with you. For those of you that weren't here yesterday and didn't hear my introduction, my name is James Poulter. Everyone knows me as JP. As Pete said, we travel with the family this week, so pray for me. It's going well. No, they've been great. And what I want to do is speak to you this morning about maybe just a little bit of kind of future casting and where we might see the next few years go, which in the world of AI is a dangerous thing to do because you have to start peering into a crystal ball that's nested inside of another crystal ball and then try and work out what's going on the other side. But hopefully we can have a little bit of thinking about that this morning. Is that all right? Yes. How's the caffeine hitting at the moment? Okay, good. Like, can I feel like do we need like some stretch break already before we get going? No, you're going to be good. Okay, let's go. Let me start off with a little bit of backstory here. My first ever job was working in a dry cleaners in southwest London. Glamorous, I know. Working at a little place called Walton-on-Thames, a very kind of beautiful leafy suburb of South London. And we had many different celebrity clients at this dry cleaners. Can I get an ooh, celebrity clients, very exciting. Including Kate Winslet, who remembers the Titanic fame? Yeah, Kate Winslet. Cliff Richard was also one of our Cliff fans who know Cliff. He was a kind of a rather dashing gentleman in the 80s who was very good at, kind of had a good kind of leg movement thing that going with the music. You had his calendar, I expect, at some point, yeah? For those of you who are like, just don't Google Cliff, it's not gone well since. I never actually met any of these celebrity clients, it's worth saying. My boss, Michael, who was kind of early 60s retiree Pakistani gentleman that gave me this original job when I was 15, and probably, I mean, there's no one from the IRS in the room and that wouldn't apply to me anyway, but the taxes were dubious at the time. And I never met any of these celebrity clients, but apparently we had them. So I've taken him on trust since then. That was my first job. My second job was working for my father's business, running papers up and down Fleet Street in central London. Anyone visited the legal district of London? You've kind of been around the courts and you've seen these guys, right? So back in, you've got some Dropbox users, I imagine, in the room. Yes? Dropbox, Google Drive? Yeah? People using SharePoint? For those of you that really don't like yourselves? We've got some of that going on. This was kind of Dropbox circa 1993. Papers, inboxes, literally being dropped by me up and down the streets of central London, wrapped in these pink ribbons for the legal district. You'll still see this from time to time. Now, I bring this up because in the short kind of 25-year period that's intervened since this moment and now, work has gotten a little bit out of hand, I would say. Things are kind of getting a bit crazy. These are just some real job titles that I found recently that are on LinkedIn. Now, some of you really need to cool it with the LinkedIn updates. Can I just say that now? If you know who you are, particularly you know who you are, and they're sat in the front row, most of them. You need to cool it with these, but these are the titles that people are running with. I particularly like Retail Jedi. That feels like kind of my spirit animal going on there. Accounting Ninja. Yeah? Anyone got any particular favorites? I think the Change Chatter is quite nice. It comes with a lovely hat. These jobs, we've kind of gotten a little bit out of hand with because work has changed so drastically, hasn't it, in the past kind of 2 decades. And I'd love to kind of think about maybe why that is and how it's going to change next. This was just one company I was looking at for the types of engineers that they were hiring for just a couple of weeks ago. Just one company from their LinkedIn posts of their job ads, right? We've got data scientists, embedded software engineers, full stack software engineers, QA automation engineers, software security, a lot of engineering, as you can see, going on, but all fragmented different versions of what at one time or other would have probably been the same job, right? Just engineer. And life has become much more fragmented. In fact, it's so fragmented that in the past 2 decades, basically since we put a computer on the desktop of most people in most offices, the average number of job titles has increased by over 1/3 in Fortune 500s. Now, why is this? Well, lots of things has changed in the world of work since we introduced computers and technology. Things have got way more complex, right? We've increasingly created more complex systems, all for good reasons, because what we've been going for is efficiency. We've started fragmenting work down into smaller and smaller sections, giving people more things to do, but smaller components of the same bigger thing. And the reason we've done it is because it allows people to specialize, right? We've got depth of knowledge. You can be an absolute expert in, kind of SQL or C++ or, kind of what badgers like to do at the weekend, pick your topic. But you can go very, very deep in it. And beyond that knowledge depth, the final thing is that we've been trying to get around this problem of globalization and being able to scale. And if you want to be able to scale, you have to make things mechanized, automated, broken down into smaller component parts. And so that's what's driven this massive change in what jobs look like. And it brings us to this moment of, kind of the dawn and then the kind of dying dusts of 2025. 3 years nearly to the birthday of the release of ChatGPT. ChatGPT fans in the room, I imagine. Raise a hand if you were here for the OpenAI keynote yesterday. If you've used it, let's just kind of get a sense of the room. Who's used one of these tools this week? Keep it raised if you've used it today, this morning, currently using it right now. Hopefully, okay, good, just checking. It's fine, it's fine. She's a very attractive personality. So ChatGPT has kind of created this moment. And where we find ourselves here 3 years on from that release of this quite weirdly successful technology, I think is in this tension between what I would call these two moments. The moment of FOMO, right? You know what FOMO is? The fear of missing out, right? Everyone's trying to work out how to get on the AI bandwagon. Maybe the reason you came to Agentic this week is to try and work out how not to get left behind, how to deal with this fear of maybe missing out on this really interesting moment we're in. And at the very same time, we are juxtaposed with a second moment, which I like to call the FIGO moment, which is the fear of AI, generic AI obsolescence. The fear that not only have you found this amazing thing to help you do your work better, faster, quicker, smarter, but that thing may also do your work so well, better, faster, quicker, smarter, that you may not have any work left to do, right? Anyone feel that tension? You're hearing about it, right? People coming to you and saying, oh, well, AI can do that. And then some of us feel very much on the opposite end of the spectrum. Oh, AI could never do my job. And then a week goes by and some release from one of the big model labs comes out and you find out, no, it definitely can. It's upsetting. How did we get here? Well, the technology, we know the story by now, right? 3 years on from ChatGPT launching, in 2 months it goes from nothing to 100 million users, the fastest technology explosion ever seen in consumer technology. And just pause for a moment. This was an app that launched from a company that up until 3 years ago, most of the public had never heard of. Most people don't know who OpenAI was. They certainly didn't think that they were going to be seeing Sam Altman popping up on their screens every week telling them about the future. And it was an app that was launched with the name ChatGPT. Any marketing graduates in the room? I mean, come on, guys, branding specialism 101 here would have told you that this is the worst named application in all of human history with zero marketing budget, and it hits 100 million users in 2 months. It's wild. And here we are 3 years on, and we are probably about to crest over the mark of 1 billion users just using ChatGPT, a seventh of the planet using one application for everything from planning their weekly grocery shopping to working out, kind of what the federal budget is going to be for the East Wing. It really is being used in all sorts of different ways. And so I find it challenging and interesting when we begin to see the predictions of where this stuff might go, particularly when you listen to the predictions of the companies that are creating it. Now, I've mentioned ChatGPT here and OpenAI, but I could equally throw up here quotes from the creators of Anthropic or from Google or many others. This is not to put them on the spot, but I will put Sam Altman on the spot for a second over these comments. This is something that Sam said earlier in this year. He said, I think that people will ask an agent to do things for them that used to take a month and they'll do in an hour. Just think about that for a moment. Things that used to take you a month, done in an hour. What's something you've got on your plate right now that's going to take you the next month to do? Just think about something real in your day job. And imagine by the time that I get done speaking and our panelists have finished, that thing's done, right? By 2030, 5 years from now or less, that's where he thinks we're going to be. Now, just a hand raise. How many of you think that that's accurate? A few. Mm-hmm. How many would then say maybe I'm skeptical? A few skeptics in the room? I'm beginning to believe him more and more. And there's a couple of reasons why. Sam's a CEO, right, of 2 companies. Did you know this? He's the CEO of OpenAI. He's also the CEO of another company. Anyone know that company? It's called World. They create something called World Coin, which is a cryptocurrency that will be issued in one day in the future to give everybody universal basic income. Reason being, well, because when there's no work left to do, we have to pay them to do something. He's the CEO of 2 companies, the one creating the intelligence and the one subsidizing it when there's nothing left for us to do. So I wonder if we should maybe put some clout behind these statements, or at least contend with what the future might look like, even if this is remotely accurate, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 or beyond. We're in the agentic age. Here we are at the start of Agentic today for the conference. And I think the agentic age is characterized simply by we've moved away from the time where you spoke to one of these chatbots, you spoke to an AI, and you did the work. And we've moved into the agentic space where you talk to one of these chatbots, one of these AIs, and it does the work. And very soon, we will have to rename this conference again. Sorry, Pete. But what to, I don't quite know, because I think we're about to move into the space where these AIs talk to one another and they do the work. And that changes everything. The innovation age, or the age of AI organizations, I think is on the cusp. We're already beginning to see pundits begin to say that we might be at the dawn of the first company that reaches $1 billion valuation with a single employee. Now, I'd love it if that was me. And if it's any of you, I'd love to invest. But we're not far away maybe from seeing massive unlocking of entrepreneurial talent, but not necessarily the same trickle-down effects of it creating jobs for everybody as a result. And so we have to contend with what the future of work might look like in a world where AI does the work with other AIs rather than with the humans. Because if you believe those that are leaving the AI labs, those that are leaving ChatGPT's, OpenAI or Anthropic or others, what are they all going off to do? They don't seem to be going to create other foundation model labs. They go and create AI safety institutes, including these two, Daniel Kokatalu and Eli Lifland, who wrote this paper. Anyone read this, AI 2027? Come across this paper? I really encourage you, if you've not read it yet, go and read it. Maybe, I'm not saying it's gospel, and I'm not saying that they are going to be right, but they've left some of these biggest labs to speak out about this stuff. And if you listen to the likes of my kind of fellow countryman Geoffrey Hinton moving away from Google in order to be able to speak about this topic as well, many of our greatest minds who have been the creators of this technology are leaving these companies in order to say that we need to work out how we're going to deal with this level of change that we're going to get to. Now, just to unpack, what does this graph show you? This graph says that at some point in the realms of spring of 2027, we might get something called an artificial super intelligence. But before we get anywhere near super intelligence, we will create an superhuman AI researcher. Now, what's a superhuman AI researcher? Well, at the moment, there's probably somewhere, by best estimates from friends at Anthropic, they would say there's somewhere between 800 and about 1,000 people on the planet that actually know how to train these language models to the level that we would need them in order to generate artificial general intelligence, about 1,000 people. So we're beginning to tackle the energy issue. We're going to obviously deal with chips if Jensen can keep pumping them out fast enough. And we are going to, at some point or other, kind of find new types of tokens to train these models. But the real challenge is human compute. It's the brains to be able to do this. Well, if we get to a point where an AI is smart enough to train other AIs, then the need for those 1,000 people begins to become much less. And so this prediction, along with a number of others that have come over this past 6 months, would say that we will soon be into an age where AIs can train one another. And that gives us superintelligence explosion, the opportunity for AI to truly begin to outpace human intelligence altogether. And that's where things get really squirrely when it comes to the world of work. We're already beginning to see the first fruits of this. In the past year, 31% fewer specialized roles are beginning to be needed in professional services firms to get the same level of output. Many of you sadly will have seen the news this morning that Amazon are preparing to lay off somewhere in the region of 15,000 staff members across the organization, partly due to the fact that they're bringing more artificial intelligence into the organization. Now, we could also blame overhiring, kind of massive, overcompensation in different areas of the business, whatever you might like. But the real kind of first fruits of this we are beginning to see in the tail end of the economy, whether it's young people coming into graduate level jobs or into the larger organizations as they begin to consolidate their workforces. Less people needed to do the same work. But it's not just less people, it's different types of work. This study from Harvard earlier this year, and particularly one of the co-authors, Ethan Mollick, who I highly recommend you follow from Wharton, would show that we also can give AIs to people that will not just mean that there's needed less of them, but when there are the less that are still left behind, they can do different work. They can work at the same performance as an entire team of people who don't have access to that artificial intelligence. And the teams that do have it, they produce better results. They produce results in the top 10% of all that were studied. So that old paradigm, you remember it? My old boss used to tell me there's 3 things you can have, James, but you can only pick 2 of them. Good, fast, and cheap. Pick 2, right? You can't have all 3. maybe we can. Maybe that's what this is going to unlock, that we get better, faster, and cheaper work all at the same time. You have played around, I'm sure, with who's kind of done some Photoshop editing in their time, right? This is Photoshop circa, this screenshot, 2016, right? Just a mere 9 years ago. This is Canva today, right? 9 years. Remember what you were doing 9 years ago? Right? I can barely remember what I was doing 5 minutes ago, but like nine years ago, it doesn't actually seem that long ago. And in that short space of time, we've gone from manual, tiny, replica tools to not just being able to create the image, edit the image, put it into something else, but generate images that we could never have created with our own hands, right? This kind of vibe working, I think more than just vibe coding, is the thing that we're beginning to see emerge. Andrei Karpathy coined this phrase. If anyone needs a wedding planner, by the way, my wife planned Andrei's wedding actually earlier this year, so just let her know in the back. You can grab it later. And he called this a new kind of coding, vibe coding, right, where we fully give into the vibes and embrace the exponentials. Have we got any vibe coders in the room? A couple of people have done a bit of vibe coding. It's about the most Gen Z way of describing work I've ever heard, but we are there, vibe coding. But I think vibe coding is just the beginning of this agentic type of work. I think vibe working is the direction of travel for many of us. This relationship where these AIs get good enough that they are our pair programmer, our pair writer, our pair artisan in whatever form. I've never been a particularly great coder or developer. I learned most basic CSS, JavaScript when I was in high school. And my first experience was building GeoCities websites in the early 90s. Anyone build a GeoCities? At some point, yeah, come on, friends. Was this yours? It wasn't mine. Gent in the back, yeah, it's his. Welcome to Wienerville, absolutely. This is about as good as my coding got. And I thought in the most dangerous thing we could do, I could try and give you some kind of live demo. So let's just kind of come over here and show you what coding is like today. I'm going to bring you into this is AI Studio from Google, and I've pre-populated it here with a little prompt. It's going to go and create an AI-powered meme generator that you can upload images to. Core features uses a magic caption button, but the one twist, all the memes you generate will be about bald eagles. So let's just see what kind of happens. We'll leave that going. These tools, they don't just do the work that one person used to do in an hour or even in a month. They do the work that 5 different people working at the same time used to do in teams, in cohorts, working in groups. They are designers, they are writers, they are developers, they are UX professionals, project managers, and program managers, directors, senior and junior. They are all parts of the stack. I might call it full stack work being done by an army of different AI agents working together in order that we might not just write the code, but write the content, that we might create the images and that we might do all of the work that's required to build a thing in just a matter of a couple of moments. This type of tooling unlocks so much for us in terms of prototyping and design, thinking, the way in which we might do work in the future. Democratizing access to this type of work, I think, is the change that we are about to see. And this is in the world of development, but imagine what this looks like when you have a vibe writer or a vibe electrician or a vibe, pick your discipline of choice. Vibe dentist is the one I'm a bit dubious about, but I really would like them. They call it a practice, don't they? I've never understood that. I don't want them to be practicing on me, at least. But this is the type of work that I think we begin to see. And in just a couple of minutes that would have otherwise taken months, the work is done, or done good enough. And that's the future of where we're heading to. Now, of course, in the live demo, it takes a few moments, so we'll come back to this in just a second. So, oh, well, no, look, there you go. Here we go. Eagle Eye AI Studio. Choose your eagle background. There's a template, nice. There's a meme generator. Let's give us a magic caption. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit of confidence in this isn't just writing the front end of a website. It's also written all of the back end code to run the Nano Banana AI model to generate a meme at the other end of it as well. So if you only were worried that vibe coding was only ever for front end, here we go. My talons are cold just looking at this. Where's the beach? Lovely. And we can go download that. Just think about something that you've got on your to-do list for a month. Done in an hour. Just think. So here we are. Vibe working, vibe coding. vibe writing, enabled by some of the tools that are getting some of the biggest valuations on the planet right now, whether you're using things like Cursor and Windsurf, using the models from OpenAI or Claude, wherever they're coming from. These are the things that are enabling the future of what we might see as full stack work. And if that's what's going to happen, then I think we need some full stack professionals in the room. So what do we do for those that are going to do this type of work? We need to drastically upskill them in the things the AI is not going to do, right? Drastically upskill them in the work that the AI is not going to do. And the work that the AI is not going to do is get up at 7 a.m., get on a flight, come to a place in DC, grab a cup of coffee and sit next to someone and have a conversation. It's not going to do that. But isn't that where the work really gets done, right? That's why you came. You could have listened to this talk on the, online at home. You could have networked on LinkedIn, but you got up out of your seats and came here. And so we need to lean in heavily to making sure that the next generation, those who came from, where are the folks that came from Florida, the college students? Well done. You guys, right? For this generation, we need to make sure that they can be the next set of full stack professionals who can work with this AI, that they know how to lead, that they're deeply empathetic with one another and understand what it means to have a difficult conversation, that they can think strategically. And that doesn't mean being a strategist necessarily, but it does mean being able to see a problem from lots of different angles. And they have to be culturally fluent. I don't mean like knowing what's going on at the opera or why K-pop Demon Hunters is top of the Netflix charts. I just mean like you have to be culturally fluent in the culture of the people, the team, the organization, and the moment that we're living in, because that's the thing that the AI can't do. And of course, you have to know how to orchestrate the AI when it is doing the rest of the work for you, with you, and maybe with itself. We have to deal with this because I think one of the biggest challenges that we have in front of us is that there is a moment of talent gap that is going to need to be filled. For those entering into their careers, for you guys as you enter into the first 5 years of career, we need to reinvent what it means to have junior roles. Think about what your first job was. For those of you who've been in work for a couple of decades, what was your first job like, right? I imagine there was lots of manual data entry, lots of, kind of running papers around like I did up and down the street, the basic stuff. Now, it's going to become economically unviable very, very soon to pay anybody to do that work. So what do we pay them to do? We pay them to be in the room, to observe, and to learn what it means to be the next person in line. That's what we pay them to do. And we have to lean into that. We have to reinvent government jobs, private sector jobs, third sector jobs to allow for a new type of work to emerge. One where they can be AI enabled, where they can observe those that would go ahead of them, because we're never going to find the mid and senior weight professional that you need in the future if we don't cultivate the junior ones, even if it's uneconomically viable to do so. And I don't just think paying them to sit at home and play Fortnite is the solution. But Sam is the CEO of 2 companies, and one of those wants to do just that. And so my challenge to you is that we would stand up for creating new full stack professionals with better work. One of the pieces of work that I get to do is I serve as the head of AI and innovation at House 337. We're a communications brand agency based in London, and we've been publishing this study for the past couple of years. It's going to come out in 2 weeks' time. And you guys are the first people to get access to this by being here. So I'd love it if you would scan this QR code, join the wait list. And one of the things that we're beginning to see with this data is unlocking what the future of AI might look like in the coming years. We study 6,000 people in the US, the UK, and Germany to understand the different ways that AI is growing and changing. And so if you'd like some up-to-date data on this topic, I commend this to you. And what I would also like to keep, if you've got your QR scanners still at the ready, is I've spent the past 6 months writing a book on this topic about where the future of AI goes. And this is the first moment, so please be kind to me, that I'm revealing this to the world. This is being published by Bloomsbury Books next August here in the US and the UK, and it's called AI at Work, How to Rewire Your Job and Your Team with AI. And I would love it if you join the waitlist. So we are thinking deeply about where this stuff goes. But in closing, I want to ask you to think again this morning. By the time you go home, what might have changed if you chose to start to work differently? To think of the thing that currently takes you a month or the next 6 that you've been planning. Imagine what will be done if it's done in an hour, 10 minutes, right? Because the work that used to take an hour now takes 10 minutes, right? AI is at work. We need to know how to work with it. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention, and we will be around afterwards.